So we begin on page 3 with praise to Shakyamuni Buddha. To the founder, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the one gone beyond, the foe destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. To the founder, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the one gone beyond, the foe destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. To the founder, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the one gone beyond, the foe destroyer, completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. When, O supreme amongst humans, you were born on this earth, you paced out 7 strides, then said, I am supreme in this world. To you who were wise then, I prostrate. With pure bodies, formed supremely pure, wisdom ocean like a golden mountain, fame that blazes in the 3 worlds, winner of the best, Lord, to you I prostrate. With the supreme signs, face like spotless moon, color like gold, to you I prostrate. Dust free like you, the 3 worlds are not, incomparably wise one, to you I prostrate. The Saviour having great compassion, the Founder having all understanding, the field of merit with qualities like a vast ocean, to you the one gone to thusness I prostrate. The purity that frees one from attachment, the virtue that frees one from the lower realms, the one path, the sublime reality, to the Dharma that pacifies I prostrate. Those who are liberated and who also show the path to liberation, the holy field qualified with realizations, who are devoted to the moral precepts. To you, the sublime community intending virtue, I prostrate. Homage to the Supreme Buddha, homage to the Dharma refuge, homage to the great Sangha, to all 3 ever devout homage. To all worthy of respect, bowing with bodies as many as all realms' atoms in all aspects, with supreme faith I pay homage. Do not commit any non-virtuous actions. Perform only perfect virtuous actions. Subdue your mind thoroughly. This is the teaching of the Buddha. A star, a visual aberration, a flame of a lamp, an illusion, a drop of dew or a bubble, a dream, a flash of lightning, a cloud. See conditioned things as such. Through these merits may sentient beings attain the rank of all-seeing, subdue the foe of faults, and be delivered from samsara's ocean, perturbed by the waves of aging, sickness, and death. Page 15. The Heart of the Perfection of Wisdom Sutra. I prostrate to the Arya Triple Gem. Thus did I hear at one time. The Bhagawan was dwelling on massive Vulture's mountain in Rajagriha, together with a great community of monks and a great community of bodhisattvas. At that time, the Bhagawan was absorbed in the concentration on the categories of phenomena called profound perfection. Also at that time, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avalokiteshvara looked upon the very practice of the profound perfection of wisdom, and beheld those 5 aggregates also as empty of inherent nature. Then, through the Buddha of Buddha, the Venerable Shariputra said this to the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avalokiteshvara. How should any son of the lineage train who wishes to practice the activity of the profound perfection of wisdom? He said that, and the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avalokiteshvara said this to the Venerable Sharadvatiputra. Shariputra, any son of the lineage or daughter of the lineage who wishes to practice the activity of the profound perfection of wisdom, should look upon it like this, correctly and repeatedly beholding those 5 aggregates also as empty of inherent nature. Form is empty, emptiness is form. Emptiness is not other than form. Form is also not other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, discrimination, compositional factors, and consciousness are empty. Shariputra, likewise, all phenomena are emptiness, without characteristic, unproduced, unceased, stainless, not without stain, not deficient, not fulfilled. Shariputra, therefore in emptiness there is no form, no feeling, no discrimination, no compositional factors, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no visual form, no sound, no odor, no taste, no object of touch, and no phenomenon. There is no I element, and so on, up to and including no mind element, and no mental consciousness element. There is no ignorance, no extinction of ignorance, and so on, up to and including no aging and death, and no extinction of aging and death. Similarly, there is no suffering, origination, cessation, and path. There is no exalted wisdom, no attainment, and also no non-attainment. Shariputra, therefore, because there is no attainment, bodhisattvas rely on and dwell in the perfection of wisdom, the mind without obscuration and without fear. Having completely passed beyond error, they reach the end point of nirvana. All the Buddhas who dwell in the three times also manifestly, completely awaken to unsurpassable, perfect, complete enlightenment, and reliance on the perfection of wisdom. Therefore, the mantra of the perfection of wisdom, the mantra of great knowledge, the unsurpassed mantra, the mantra equal to the unequaled, the mantra that thoroughly pacifies all suffering, should be known as a truth since it is not false. The mantra of the perfection of wisdom is declared. Tayata gate gate paragate parasamgate bodhisoha. Shariputra, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, should train in the profound perfection of wisdom like that. Then the Bhagavan arose from that concentration and commended the Bodhisattva Arya Avalokiteshvara, saying, well said, son of the lineage. It is like that, it is like that. One should practice the profound perfection of wisdom just as you have indicated. Even the Tathagatas rejoice. The Bhagavan, having thus spoken, the Venerable Sharadvatiputra, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avalokiteshvara, those surrounding in their entirety, along with the world of gods, humans, asuras, and Gandharvas, were overjoyed and highly praised that spoken by the Bhagavan. Page 25. Usashi Purki Chukshemito Chamari Rablinshi Nidegen Padi Sangye Shingdu Mite Ulwa Shingla Chupasho Jetsun Lama Dampa Kenam Yichukukala Yense Chindigne Jita Sampe Duchesima Lazav Gechurki Chapababtu So Idam Guru Ratna Mandalakam Niryatayami. Page 27. Sogi Chanam La Chengchu Badu Dane
Chujin Jive Zonam Je Dola Benje Sanje Dobara Sho Sanje Chudan Saji Janjo Bada Dane Jazo Je Dagi Chujin Jive Zonam Je Dola Benje Sanje Zanje Chudan Saji Chanam La Janjo Bada Dane Jazam Je Dagi Chujin Jive Dola Benje Sanje Dobara Sho Hāngā tā nyē tāwē tāwā tā chē pāngwā nyē tā mē chū nē tā sē wē kōtām tēn lā chā tā tō nyē nyē chē sō nē chē wē lā chī chē sēn sē kān chē tēn chē kā chā nā wē mā tē tē chē sō lā sō wā tē sō shē tē lō rō shū pā tē tā wē lā mā rō mā chē tā wē nyē kā rā wē mē tē shū nē kā rō chē bē wā nē kō sō tā chē ngō rō sē tē sō chē chē sēn chē rā mbā chē mā chē kā nā chē chē wā nyā bā mē kō nē kā nē bē kō rā shū Oh, good evening, everyone. 다 꿀롱 검지 야 꿀롱디 카레 검자올라나 다 드린 낭베 체리기 다 두마치 있고 디야고 신예제라 아니 드린네 제제 네네 삼바상 보직다 미 약고직 치두와 치기 삼지 아니 꿀롱야고 지제셨어.
So first we'll generate a motivation. So motivation should be today listening to this Buddhist science text. You should do so in order to be a positive human being, in order to be of benefit to others. So you should try and develop this good heart or this pure motivation.
어다 가고 건라 단 단당 알아서 된대지 인기 총어디 다 개워선 거 인선 가고 건라
So, rejoice now. Feel that you have this wonderful opportunity to receive these amazing teachings on this incredible text. So feel great joy in having that opportunity.
Okay, I think this watch not working. Huh. 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 It's not working. Battery finish, I think. Yeah.
You need one?
Yeah. Battery finish.
Yeah.
It's okay. Yeah, I need to watch it. Okay, here.
You got? Okay.
I didn't bring my watch.
Can you see that? It's too small.
It's okay.
You on this one?
This one.
Mm.
You have good meditation session. I thought, oh, it's not working. What happened? Same. You think, what happened today? No, too long. Yeah. Clock, what's sleeping. Yeah. It's a good good opportunity to meditation. Yeah. Oi, 다, 다 내려서 낭바게, 낭바 탐지기, 낭바, 최 탐지, 교저 여가직, 교저 매어디.
So, all Buddhist schools hold the same, all the tenets of the Buddhist schools hold the same view that there's two types of phenomena, that's which is changing and that's which is unchanging.
교저야 돼 가래 두고 알았으나 유단 gen기도 교저고요. 규gen기도 그러와. 규전 야고지요나 아니 대부 야고지 연구를 규전 독자지요나 대부 독자지 연구를 써대디 될었다 뒤제스라고 요래서
Duce.
뒤제스나 미다고 미다고스나.
So how does this change? How's this changing phenomena? How does that change come about? Well, it comes about due to causes and conditions. So if you have positive causes and conditions, then you have positive change. If you have negative causes and conditions, sorry, not positive change, positive result. And if you have bad causes and conditions, then you have a negative result. So this compositional phenomena is changeable due to its causes and changes in its causes and conditions.
시엔이로 말하죠. 메제나라 편도 첨부래도 말하죠. 수수 메제나라 편도 배첨부. 세상다 나랑 나도 니마 소화제거로 하죠. 로랑랑도 소화제거요래. 교도도 알아. 산산라 수수 셈나라 차시 매나야 동해인데 가서 수수 셈나 차시 매베다 동해만라다 내가 가셔야 सक्세스 차원이야 된대요. 약부 차원이야 된대요. 세상 두저 체장 주잖아. 내가 가셔야 약부 마셔야 산산라 내가 가셔야 깔려시려면 점나나 장마 약부를 해야죠. 어두 상모 용원의 친제 규약보든 된 건데 친제 포스티브 규약보든 된 건데 친구는 만들라 데비디 단다 용거 요레스타디 낭바게 낭바 삼지가 어디 켈렌지 거스로 규약보직 싸울는데 데비약보 용거 규독자 싸울는 데비독자 용거 어디 낭바에게다 둠시도 낭바 삼지 켈린 거레스티.
So if we actually can understand this, it's very beneficial for our daily lives. Right, because we always have changes in our situation. Like sometimes maybe that we very easily achieve something, without really much effort. It just kind of comes together very easily. Other times we might strive really hard to achieve something, and it just doesn't happen no matter how hard we try. Now, this is because if we have good causes and conditions that come together, then things can be accomplished easily. If we don't have the right causes and conditions or bad causes and conditions, then we can't achieve these things. And like all Buddhist schools hold to the same view, that good, positive things come from positive causes, and difficulties or problems, negative things come from negative causes.
세상 대인들다 먼저 뒤에 꿀론 당부 꿀론 야고치야 꿀론데 장 안데 내 신도 수수 계좌 계지 밀라 팬도에 계좌든데 시야 안에 되네 수수 류기 전에야 밀라 팬도에 같은데 시는 삼로기 닝제단 참바단 수가 고며 어디 도저 삼로다나 안에 디기 용거를 에스타던다 도도 들어.
So everything starts off with having a positive motivation if you want to be a positive person. And then beyond that, you need to be aware of your speech. Is your speech beneficial to others? And also of your physical actions. Are those of benefit to others? And then on a mental side, you need to be cultivating positive qualities such as loving kindness, compassion, patience, and so forth.
어디지? 다드네 뒤제 주어 만드는 데라다 두마치에서 주어 좋아 매베 되든지 두마치에서 샤고 그랬어.
So then when we look at unchanging phenomena, this is also this is a synonym for uncompounded phenomena. They have one and the same.
다들라 예와숨 당한조 단다 치라마 와서 줍다오마 줍다선다 치라마 낭발라 데젠 시요레스와 줍다 치라마 도데와 셈담 우마와스지 다또 근데 줍다선다 켈렌치니 데젠 다도조 가서라 따줍기 차네 아니 낭세라 멘다 용레스와 낭바이나야 낭세라 따줍 켈렌 따줍기 차네 지 대전 싫어가지 다다도 맨다고 켈렌이선 제단 단단하죠 지라마워스는 다도 당보되게 아니 düzüdi şey가 레스로.
So when we look at the Great Exposition School, 건서 예와시요래 예와솜.
시 지라마와 도데와 심좀 우모.
No, man, 두메체 솜. So the first school, the Great Exposition School, they hold three divisions of this uncompounded phenomena. So when we talk about this Great Exposition School, we can say there's four philosophical schools of Buddhist school, Sutra school, Mind-only school, and the Middle Way school. Now, these are determined because of different philosophical viewpoints, right? And because of that, then these different tenet systems arise, right? They have different views or different philosophies or different ways of looking at things, and that's, although they're all Buddhist, they do have different philosophical standpoints, and that's why they are divided into these four schools.
다디네 단다 기승원조 다니도 차례와 두마치 나가다 수수 당고 써야 돼. 두마치 나가서야 돼. 단당원조 디임바 다 두마치 나파 che ane susu dango sayade kokden da ganzo nyomo ge sabyon da cheba pangba te ta nyomo yangja su je yo mar cheza ko yangja je mebe inza ane tagwa charda ro ganzo danda ganzo juge emotion zo 상상을 mebe cha 상상을 yoba chagido 가르치는 cha고라서나 ganzo jula sabyon de yore ro ganzo juji nyomo zo medo te chigbare medo ya tingzanda medo ya je yongdo ya medo 로마다 메도치 에냐 데우마미 야 파감 야 사자 동바차 야야 제용도 디나시링 어저 그녀모데 겐다 체주야 겐다 마체나나 메바차 도 세네 양자 용고에서 어저지 녀모데 어저지지 녀모데 양자 제요 다 고든 스톱사나 녀모 양자 제 사벤데 메브스샤로 메도가 사벤데 메나 메도 지금마로 양자 대나시 아니 곡된사 톱 녀모가 사면다 제바디 매브스샤버들라 곡된사다 디스고르다.
So we've looked at the first two of these uncompounded space and the analytical cessation. So the uncompounded space, you're familiar, we've gone over that where it's the absence of abstraction and so forth. The second one, which is the analytical cessation, is the removal of the delusions along with the seeds of those delusions. Now, this is said to be permanent because once you remove the delusions and the seeds of those delusions, they cannot arise again. So once you reach this state, then it's a permanent state of, and it's called the true cessation. So what do we mean by the delusions along with their seeds? Well, as flowers and plants produce seeds. So even if you were to remove the plant, like take out the flower or, cut down a tree or something like that, if you didn't remove the seeds, then another one would just sprout up somewhere else. And this is content to happen. So once, however, you reach the state of cessation, there's no possibility for these delusions to come back again. So that's why it's said that not only the delusions are removed, but the seeds of those delusions as well. And once you remove the delusions and the seeds of those delusions, that's when you reach the state of cessation.
따디 디 땅원에 낭박에다 시고 코알레 탈발라이더라. 지산 데디 믹세지 차대요. 지산 단당랑서 다 참말로 동에 되고요. 뭐 디지 되고요. 디지 주릉보지 고고요. 먼저 디지베 주릉보 이네 먼저 디지 주릉보도 용고요 말이야. 디지 축축스 용 예로라 축축 가실라 축축스요 말에 가되나 동해자냐 뇽제데 미나다 동해 뇽제 대와야 되는데 도 하란 치잖아. 미 가셔야 수수 삼단단게 때제야 동해 뇽하라 같은데 용거다. 삼단단지기 차네. 용거도 삼단단데 때제 삼단단데 야고소래다 참바단 제와단 수세다. 아니치 삼시다 짐바다야다 수름사야다 된데기 삼단단데 야고여나 미델라 동해 뇽아 그러 동해 뇽아 강해지 여외나 동해 뇽아 담이 가셔야 된데 참밤에 가두이나 란진지냐 삼단이데 내주 띡 마리고다가 동해 전부 잘 오다 어디 땅안서 뒤다 내다디 매워지 고고였다 내주 친주지 강해 태그를 상산의 야구 연구를 상산의 야구 연구 말은 알아서 단다 내다 망고지 신기요 말아 마시 아니 디네가블라다 강해로 태두 디게 다 셈나 동해 매워 맞에 대화 요바지 중나다 간대야고요 제가 디 용아 유다 매간라 삼당고요 레스당들어
So from a Buddhist perspective, once you remove these delusions and their seeds, then this is said to be the state of liberation from samsara. So at this point, you've gone beyond all suffering. However, as human beings, even though we do not wish for suffering, and we do wish for happiness, we tend to experience suffering. And when we do experience happiness, it's very short-lived, like it comes and it goes very quickly. However, having said that, although human beings we all suffer, we can have a certain amount of control. We can create a way of thinking that will produce less suffering. If we have positive mental attitudes, develop things like loving kindness, affection, generosity, positive mental attitudes, good mental attitudes, then this produces less suffering. Sure, you still have the difficulties, the problems, but you don't react to them in the same way. You don't react as strongly. It doesn't cause you as much suffering. Some people who have strong self-cherishing and a lot of delusions, even the smallest thing can cause them a lot of suffering, can become a very big problem. So, it's the small things becoming difficult. We want to try and avoid this, and we want to try and develop these positive qualities. And then we need to check, is this state, of complete happiness? I mean, that would be something wonderful, but you need to check for yourself. Do you think, is this possible or not to attain this kind of state?
세상 나도 곡된다 동 디지 텐데데 디지 토라 갈래 자오레스로 갈래 자오다 갈래 마잖아나 롭종레 딱 갈래 자오다 차랑서 네 랑갈 모르단데 용츠 용데 안저니데 갈래 도와로야 텔레로면도 아 가시 롭종디 시고여레나야 모르다야다 남시 장모다 텔라 셈제 용마tum나나 아니 신야데 뇨르뇨르체 아니 따야 교르두도 아테 가나도레 진데게 최 녀야지고레 깔레 자구도로 아니 다 고미야다 삼야다 두줄라다 투주당니 인다이 최고다 거로 깔레 자오르다 깔레 마잖나나 데비용고 마라와세다로
So, however, this state of true cessation, this kind of complete lasting happiness, attaining that is really not easy. You need to work very hard. You need to study. You need to make the effort, and it's like coming here. If you make the effort to drive, sure, it's difficult. It's cold, it's dark. You have to drive here, then you have to listen for an hour and a half, and it's easy to sort of think, oh no, it's too far, it's too hard, it's too cold. I'll just do something else, right? But to develop your mind, you have to strive. You have to make effort to come and listen and study and so forth. And of course, you need to make the time to do meditate and that as well. That goes without saying.
다데네 소소 땅미지 고고사야 다 숨버들와 소소 땅미지 고고사야 다데 고가고 버시요래와 다 암저 싸워서 고가고 데즈 요래이네 갈래 잠다나 고용고레세.
So now we talk about non-analytical cessation. This is a little bit difficult to understand, right? Especially if you're kind of new, but if you think about it a little bit again and again, it will become clearer.
저런저 싸워서 고간나 토하시고 그래서 띵.
Yeah, so it might just kind of, if you're new, it might kind of bounce off your head and not really.
What is the laws of what you're touching on?
Yeah, it might be a big what session. What?
Yeah, we are. Jela. Ego antidote.
This might be quite good for your pride if you don't understand it.
Ego antidote.
It's the antidote. Might be an antidote for your pride.
Idea where. 다들 딜라도 게임마다 데마 칙디마 람나 페이지 코디아면으로 담봉일 아니 인데 양겨질라나 게임마다 온게 있어로 게임마다 온게 추마옹 반남 깨월라 덴데 게제베 차라 소소 담미지 고과샤로 스페나 람곰베도 비스로 셰단데 베는 참바 먼저 참바 람곰디다 람곰스니 참바다 닝지 곰제 데데디 아니 셰단 콘도데비디 덴데 세와다 마레 빵요 마르데이나 야 셰단 군주와 제베 겐상 미시와 차르와 제가 디네가게 딜라 아니 소소당미 고와스 딜라고 레스페데 페데마 랍샤나 아니 there's koyaldo.
So just read it first from the text. So non-analytical cessation refers to the factor that prevents arising of future phenomena because of the power of incomplete conditions. For example, there is a cessation of hatred permanently, not because the power of cultivating the path, but because of the completion of conditions giving rise to hatred have become impossible. What? Oh, it's page 159. So basically what it's saying here is this is different to analytical cessation because you haven't got it to a state where it cannot arise ever again. But what's happened is that you've created a situation where there's no conditions that would allow something like hatred to arise. And because of that, because of not having the conditions for it to arise, then it does not arise. So this is what's meant by this non-analytical cessation.
Pena didaware churanzo peshashana anzo vaccine la ro ngongo kamna shiris ro ngongo kapdi debe negala nazadi nagmarwa ko jendi kasharwa ya ngongo kapdi yesna nazadi su legro wa ngongo kapyebe negabla nazadi peche pangyo mare dele tenegabla nagmarwa o di dawra jire da di dawra ngongo kapjebe negabla naza meba shiora o di dawra.
So you could understand it like taking a vaccine, you know. If you've had this vaccine, it prevents the conditions that allow this disease, whatever you're vaccinated against, to arise. So the disease won't come. But it's not to say that you've got rid of the disease completely. The potential's still there. It's just a temporary kind of blockage that doesn't allow the disease to come because you've prevented the conditions. But if the vaccine stopped working, then you could get sick again. However, while the vaccine is effective, it prevents the conditions for the disease to arise.
Oh, dear. So damage go what I did. Till a digital Dixon we are. Caucasana so then been a chamba ninjit com de do. Chamba com de do, ni shedan condo yungo marwa. Condo mayona? Condo yona on the same trukruva, Majo yorwa. Condo maybe negala, same la shiva yora. What did it?
So, you know, when you reach this kind of state, you attain a certain kind of happiness. Because if you've cultivated attitudes such as love and kindness and compassion to the point where anger can't arise, then, you know, you have a certain type of peace and happiness because the anger is very disturbing for the mind. So if you've removed the conditions for that to arise, then your mind becomes very peaceful.
That the best indication I were on the young gomja the Tadawagan, Melfun, Bezin Mumerwa. Tigala seemed the Tadawagan, there to be, you know. Also, Tanda Mimangwich David needs you to kill and some Majiva Jungudwa. Timeo Chadogura. Seemed the Tadawagan on the Netumna, on the Mimangwich. Ah, David needs you to take Remas and Nini Remas or Ravani, they must kill Jenny. Simnala, ni 강에서 되기도. 그렇습니다. 다다와가나 되나 네 고급도 요마르와 데비네 주치 키워야 고급도 요마르와. 근데 내가 될라 예수서 담이 고골라데 요르다. 시와지 대와지 다 대와로지 요르디 내가 그러.
So, you know, another kind of example would be that if we do this mindfulness meditation and you train to keep you train to keep your mind in the present moment. So if you're able to do this and keep your mind in the present moment, then, you know, you won't be disturbed by thoughts of the past. You know, when you're thinking about the past or the future, your mind becomes disturbed. But if you're able to keep your mind in your present, then it prevents that kind of disturbance from arising because there's no opportunity for that, you know, for that agitation to arise. Because your mind's in the present, these thoughts of past and future can't manifest.
Oh, this is a domingo when I did a war is it at the dead.
So this is a kind of rough idea of what this
Tango lam love the dang on the Gula Lam Yomara. Tatang on the gom does the Jaguara on the Tadawagan sim shed to come the Jaguara. The negal sim did come the award to sim the Tadawagan Ladena Subul Herba, somebody give a yorra. Give a yort in there. Or did it at the neck of Della? Go David needs to train again the Kasha or can't get to your Maravaco. On the Manguji, some of my Jewish had there were be my Manguch Keung, Kashik, all a back chimbo you look at your back chimbo, back the mail charo. Young sim the Tadawala years none, back the Sulayang or any young Kangi or did it go? But then the mail so your moro, negabjil mail charo did it.
So, you know, if we are sort of starting on the path and we're able to keep our mind in the present moment, learn to do this, then this creates happiness for us, right? Because if your mind's present, the conditions aren't there for those disturbing thoughts of the past and so forth to arise. And it kind of feels like, you've lifted like a weight or a heavy bag off, you've like let go of that. People kind of describe it like this, letting go of this weight. However, this is if you were to lose this kind of mindfulness and then stop being aware and keeping your mind in the present moment, then the thoughts of the past would start to come up and you'd experience the worry and agitation again. So it's kind of like a temporary relief from the suffering.
dumachena sumyandi nangadane kobani tela nangami do su dawa koba kan thewa su kila dine kyochiba koshin su ta memba sonda hodere ta dumache dela ta di khung shere wa tanda di chirama she lu ta zo sa di chirama wa tenjo shere wa yena la dumache la namba sumyo res kharesna nangadan koba dan su ta mi koba res nangala ya de kharesna ani ngo madiba res su ta be koba khan shena ani yomo khairo da thewa de res kyawala tendo kekchewa de res tangmi ji ko wasya de ani rishikye ma jawa ge ani mi jewa de la ya tangmi ji ko wasya res o de da.
So we then look at this Vasubandhu's explanation in the Treasury of Knowledge, where he basically describes these uncompounded phenomena. The three unconditioned phenomena are space and the two cessations. Space does not obstruct. Analytical cessation is freedom. Each cessation is different. Non-analytical cessation absolutely obstructs arising and is different from analytical cessation. So he goes on to explain the differences between these three different uncompounded or unconditioned phenomena. First of all, he explains space as this absence of this physical obstruction. Then he talks about this analytical cessation, which is freedom in the sense that you've removed the obscurations and the seeds of them, so then you have a lasting freedom. And then the non-analyticalization is what we just talked about, which prevents the arising of the various difficulties or problems because of not allowing the conditions to come together for them to arise.
Ta tiyan asla da de deshetics gero ji kyabdo tiyan nanga se de karasna ne kochi jing sro ne kochi ji lungi ten chi gresro 제가 나가서 제레 다치라모 그 뭐부 인식으로 와대 고장고 제 룽게 땡식은 된식이 요래 맞아 남주 줘야게 내가 지금도 룽게 땡식이 요래 대자 나가 제레다 딱배 뭐보다 미대배 뭐보선 제스 투버레스라고 요러 제가 나가데 제스 투버레스 아니 땅고니 란지 가자 사제 고발라 셔라 사제에서도 뇨모라 땅고서야 돼 Nyomoga Gawadilla, and Shares, Tangmiji Gowasade, Ranje Gaza Jola Gachoro, Gaza Giala Gachinidilla, and Tamigo was shaped at the Shares, Yazan Chirame, Dumache Namason, Zele Chawa killing the rest of the shadow.
So then it goes, Vasubandhu explains it further. He says space, this is just the paragraph after. According to Vasubandhu, space accommodates material objects and acts as to support wind. So this act of supporting wind and non-obscuring of material objects, this is why the Great Exposition School says that space is a functional phenomenon, right? It's permanent, but it's functional because it has the function of supporting wind and so forth. So they say that all phenomena is functional, but then they have impermanent functional phenomena and permanent functional phenomena. But both of these are functional and therefore they have substance, right? Then it goes on to talk about analytical cessation stops contaminated phenomena that are objects to be negated on the path. So this is the cutting the delusions and these things. So this contaminated phenomena here refers to delusions in this case. And then it goes, non-analytical inhibits the arising of objects of negation, such as the affliction. So then this non-analytical phenomena basically, as we said, prevents these, doesn't completely remove the delusions, but prevents them from arising.
Adelobi nyege pumunga rajena la dumachela shisha dowa. Ade tangi di sumdi gala ya ani tishini sa sha da dongni chog dami dongbani sha resti ga.
So then Vasubandhu explains it slightly differently in his treatise on the 5 aggregates. He says there's 4 types of unconditioned phenomena. The first one's the same as space. Then the other 3 are emptiness, or suchness, or emptiness. Well, then moving on a bit, in a Sanga's compendium of Abhidharma, it talks about 8 types of unconditioned phenomena.
아니 꿀롱 삼바 상보지 토네 밀라 펜도치야 짐바당야 추중성야 록바치야로 딜라 개와서 개와라 디테 당몽에라 개와서야 생고로 개와.
Okay, so he talks about the first 3, the suchness of auspicious things, suchness of inauspicious things, or suchness of neutral things. This auspicious actually is virtue in the Tibetan. Gewa, yeah, so it's actually virtue. So when we explain what virtue is, well, virtue is a good heart with a positive motivation, actions of generosity, morality, patience, and so forth. These things are what we consider virtue. So the emptiness of that, or the emptiness based on Ditengi, on that basis is suchness of auspicious things or virtuous things.
이나 두다 공마기 때문에 좋아라 뒤제 연구 말이다. 지글직 때문에 좋아래서 와. 릉보라 때문에 통을 좋아래. 통을 때문에 릉보 좋아래. 딱벌라 때문에 미다와 샤레스. 미다벌라 때문에 딱와 샤레스. 와. 고 지글직 때문에 파샤바 인자. 인지미지기 땐종라야 되라. 뒤제 연구 말이 최 탐제 때문에 좋아래서 올라. 지글직 때문에 좋아래서.
줍다 오마디 두체디
줍다 오마나 때문에 좋아이나 뒤제. 또 공마이나 때문에 좋아 뒤제 연구 말이야.
Okay. So when we talk about this emptiness is this view unique to the Buddhist philosophy, right? However, there are within these tenet systems of Buddhism, there's slightly different views. So the lower philosophical views or tenet systems hold that dependent arising is only phenomena, right? This if it's compounded. However, the higher schools, they say that all phenomena are dependent arising. Like long arises dependence on short. Quick, the rises dependence on slow. So they're everything, permanent or impermanent, is dependent arising. So the lower schools hold that only impermanent phenomena are dependent arising, whereas the higher schools hold that all phenomena are dependent origination.
Oh, there. That 제가 디 베낭랑저게 로 셈나라 때 가르샤고래 베나 포바디 독삼로 포바 삼담이나 셈나라 포바스도 다다란 줍된 요러시로 다가란 독득을 줍된 요러시 셈나 나와셔고로
줍다 오마 right
마줍도 공마 텐죠 다
okay
다 단다란 줍어러시 나와셔고로 이나고에 내주디 차시망고 라데네 준대로 제자디 덴버투 유군에 두슬랍션에 거다 먼저 독스 포바다 따용도 당보 유중원에 자자자담바 투거시로 자자자담바 유중원에 수투거라시 먼저 나와셔고 알아
나와나
다디 나와션 어디 줘요 데 집이나 아니 로로고 당지 차로 당지 다 덴버투 차로 제가 포바디 야고 파다베나 자자자담바디 포병원에 두 많이 버시 자자자담바디 먼저 그 생게 파샤션 교수들 제가 다 디베디 로가로서 하다 삼로당당다 ngoyeni be loga so
So when we look at how this cup appears to our consciousness. It appears like manifests as like a whole kind of like almost solid, maybe solid's a good word, entity. But in reality, it's not like that. The reality is quite different. So it appears to be 100% existent from its own side. That's the appearance. And that in itself is not the problem as much as when you grasp onto it. As soon as you hold onto that or grasp onto it, that's what becomes self-grasping. Right? When you grasp onto that appearance of it existing from its own side. However, if you were to examine it thoroughly and clearly, you'd come to understand that this cup is 100% imputed by the mind, right? This entity of cup. And so it shows this way that we think and the reality of the way things exist are quite different, right? Like opposite.
다디 두유 먼저 미 롱사고 콘도사고 미딜라 곰디견을 빼편다 심벌.
So for people who have a propensity towards anger and so forth, then this is a very good meditation for them to do.
미지 나를 두자들 랍서 셈나라 직샤르거도 미디 딱 빼도자 랍서 틱두자 랍서라 빼도자도스라 삼는나라 샤르거도 빼지 가서로 자담바 유지 미두바 토녀마 저지 빼도자 샤나사고로 셈나 샤르거도 다 뭐에 내주데 된데 요 말아 미디 파 십제 깨지시나 미디 빼 가셔 빼야고요 깨지시나라고 깨자 마셔 데 기상상 간저 커뮤니케이션 야고 메디 다디 독자 빼도 삼로든 다디 수수 셈데 말흘려 제제 삼로 야고 따요나 된데 요 말다 제자데 콘도 전부 사야 될라디 야저 야담바디 유중원에 두대바디 나와셔야 돼 세부 빼다 디네가로 곰자고다. 나와샤나 칸데다라.
So, like, why is it that we get angry? Well, because, we think that somebody says something, right? And we hold on to that as being very negative, and then we hold on to that person as being very negative. Like what they said's bad, and they're bad. And then we get angry, right? But in reality, the reality of the situation is quite different. That's why this communication is very important, because if there's not really clear communication, then everything gets confused, and that's when things break down and so forth. And then you start to see the situation as bad because you don't really understand what's going on. Whereas if you have clear communication, then you can start to relax and things become a bit clearer. And if you actually analyze it more, you can actually understand this anger is 100% just, the control de gata gatamba
유중원으로 나오셔.
nangire.
난글.
Oh, sorry. So this anger appears when it arises. It appears to arise 100% from the side of the person or the object, right? That's the appearance that it has.
제가 어디죠? 이내야 다디 수수 셈이데 되어요. 수수 셈로 마가 올실리되네 페조얼 마가 페조디 미두바라고 나와셔고 수수 셈 마가 수수 셈로 가나 이동어 나와셔고 가보. 제가 어서 되자게 유를 수수 가나 페조디 닝제고 나와셔고. 그봐. 유디 닝제 맞으셔야 수수 가나 닝제고 수수 마가나 닝제고 말해다. 망자들이 수수 셈로 되어요데 세부차로도.
And so we could use an example here. We have things that we like and that we dislike, and this is all imputed by the mind. If we think of something as pleasant, like if it gives us a pleasant experience or something, then we like it. And if it's an unpleasant, feeling or something like that, then we dislike it. And when we going on from that, when we like something, then we say, oh, it's beautiful or it's nice. We go on to put that on the object, or we dislike a person and we say, it's a person or an object, we think, this is not good, or this person's not good, or they're ugly, or whatever, right? When we find it pleasant, then we impute positive things on it, and when we find it unpleasant, we impute negative things on it.
다 어딘데 이제 다 유가리네 추가리네 자자자탐바디 유중원에 주어 매바디 디 최대된 게 동반이래다.
Okay, so when you understand that this 100% this object does not exist from its own side, right? Then this lack of existence from its own side is said to be the emptiness of that object.
지난 동반이 있어야 돼. 100% 파 제와 제잠들이다 그러봐.
So this emptiness, this nus part, or the ni, it's ni in Tibetan, I guess nus is as good as a translation as any, right? So this nus is that real emphasis on this 100%, like cut that true appearance of true existence and things like that, right? 100%, no, sorry, not the 100% cut that aspect of true existence of the object. That's what this ness means.
다디 당보디 개외딩 디신이 있어와 개와스데 개와라야디다 나미카와라 데불라 디기요야다 규개와치야 될라 다 규찬데 다 미개와라야디 아니 데레다 가서 지구롱데네 미아 미들라스노바 제고 잘라구마자고 룽베 팀케기메 시도즈모다 미개웨 꾸롱로와 아니 자왕고스 전에 밀라뇌야 바르베 르 롱저 게자 초서 체당데라 뇌로야도들라 미개와서 바르베 뇌나 미개월에다 간다 가래이나요. 바로벌 뇌스나나 미나레 툰도이나레 두들라 뇌스나나 뇌베란 신들라 미개와스다 두스 콜랍션나 야셔요.
Okay, so this explains. We've now explained virtue. So now if we explain non-virtue, which is translated here as inauspicious things. So this non-virtue is basically if you're doing harmful activities, illegal activities, things, killing, stealing, and things like this, right? Basically, we can understand that anything with this motivation, bad motivation of anger or something like that, that harms another human being or another being, sorry. And you can harm beings in various ways. You can harm them in terms of harming their wealth, their mental happiness, their physical or mental well-being. Anything that harms them or has the intention to harm, that's what's non-virtue.
다 길라야 대체 나중에 롱마된 라야데. 롱마된 갈라서는 가서 니다버드 롱마데래. 니 롱마데스데 개와야 말해. 미가 그 개월에서 랍두고 말해. 그럼 가서 니디 개월에서 랍두고 말해. 네, 상상을 미개워 차도. 야 미개월에서 랍두고 말해. 상상을 개월 차도. 제가 거다 롱마데래서.
So this next thing, the suchness of neutral things. Now, neutral, it's more like unspecified, if you want the literal meaning of this Longma Ten. It's unspecified. So, Longma Ten literally means not presented in the scripture. So, normally the better translation is unspecified. And why is it unspecified? Well, because if we take an example of something that's unspecified, it's like sleep. Now, sleep can be virtuous or non-virtuous, right? You can't say, oh, sleep's virtuous, or you can't say it's not, but it can be either, right? It can go either way. So that's why it's unspecified, because it's not clear whether it's virtuous or non-virtuous. It can go either way.
And that's what that's the suchness of neutral?
No, that's just neutral. We haven't talked, so... Yeah, well, sorry, this neutral thing, and this in the third section, this neutral thing is more like unspecified thing, but we haven't talked about the suchness of it yet. Yeah.
아 롱마딩이 디신이지. 나디 디신이 있어야 동반이 튼다라. 디신이 있어야 동반이 있어다.
So this suchness, you can understand that to be a synonym for emptiness.
다디네 시와디 난가당 수소당고당 수소담이고데 기타 기진 랍사베시 연자라모고시로.
Okay, and we've gone over space, analytical cessation, and non-analytical cessation, so no need to go over it again.
다디네 미워서야디 당 도졸라다 때 지게저로 스틱스 쉐고 다게저 가르셔 미워당 꼭바서야도데. 둠바당 제바델라다 데지직 다디 number
7 and 8 are not, again, they're going to require a bit of explanation. So maybe we'll tell you a bit of a story that might help clear it up.
당보 가르고스나 당보 미디 곰자로와 곰자 셈 템버차 시네토로와 셈데 템템템템템템네 시네토. 다 시네토 연두 시네토스나나 단당가란조가다 데베데자 디 콘동아제 타도도 요아요 말다. 그봐. 데이터 먼저다 도슬람나 디고도 페이지에 데슬람나 야고도 뒤중앙도 감숨시든 되감수 감수메 감시든 숨체고로. 다 되바 단당가서 되바로 봐. 아주 되바. 다데 되바체. 데네니 수감라야 네 삼대시 삼대 당보 삼대 니와 삼대 숨바 삼대 시와스제. Dice. Ta sume kanla nangata namshita GM CZ shi. Ta di nila DJ de rob jik shin ro. Kamsum sa gusad.
Okay. So this is basically these come about due to meditation experience. So you develop your meditation, you develop it up and up and up until you reach the point of developing calm abiding. Now at this point, things like anger and jealousy, pride, these delusions, they don't cease, but they can't manifest. Right? And so when we talk about the three realms, the desire, form, and formless realm, so we as human beings, we sit to be in the desire realm. And then in the formless realm, you have the first, second, third, and fourth meditation states. And in the formless realm, the Subhankam Shidi.
Nangataye, Namshitaye, GM CZ.
So,
Nangataye.
Like vacuous, spacious.
Namshitaye.
And then Namshid,
Namshitaye.
I can't remember the translation for this. The constant consciousness, vast consciousness.
GM,
and then nothing at all, and then yeah. Do you remember the second one of the four formless realms?
Formlessness.
Nothingness.
It's
and concentration.
Namshitaya.
Namshitaya,
like
yeah,
nothing at all, and then the peak of samsara. Yeah, so they're like a concentrated consciousness, something like. Sorry, I've forgotten the translation for that one. Yeah, I'll get the four for the formless realm. I got three of them, so you're only missing one. So
that's
you just be happy you got three, all right?
That's
or you can just meditate and then find them out for yourself. That's
those laughs in there. Tango around the around those comjab. Comja, Samba Temple, Shineta, Annie? Deja, Nyomo, Deja the Yeti, Munjuba the Yeti, never child over this.
So, basically at this point, you develop your concentration, you develop calm abiding, and then you go up and it's a point where these delusions, these can't manifest, like they can't arise.
That in it, the way Nyomo, a pound, she said to work, Sunday Tangburwa. Anzol top job, Sunday Tamungushit.
Okay. So then, after this point, or the understanding of the concentration stage.
Someday Tango, someday Niva, someday Sumba Sierra.
So then you go first, second, third, right? Of the form realm, first, second, third that we talked about.
That in it, someday Shiva Dilla. Shiva Negavla Tangyore, Mio said that under the Mio last day, on the Mio said.
Okay, so and then the fourth stage of the concentration is this. You get this immovable.
Chezan de Negavla Mio la de Carsona, Annie, someday that Deve Dujate, someday Tanguni was Sumbe Dujat and Teva Yinza. Deva dan Dunge Pa, Deva say Mixie Chambo Yomare, Dunge Yomare. Today maybe Negab Sinzan, Deva dan Mideo, Deva the Dunge Kangajan, Jordan to Mega in the Mio was said, the Mio was said.
Okay.
Kokbat, Mio Kokbat.
So, at the first, second, third stage, you still have kind of this attachment to the meditation, and you have this kind of subtle, you don't have a lot of suffering, but there's a subtle maybe shift in the happiness, But when you reach this fourth stage, then it's totally immutable, right? Like there's no shift, there's no kind of up, down. It's totally 100% just not moving.
Mio said,
immovable.
Any someday Shiva did that Sugla Deja the ten, Sugu Deja than Te, Sugu Montan Te. I Sumegi, Mushi top to do Nangataya said Shadow, Nangataya.
Okay. But you still have this subtle attachment to this form, right? But then when you move on to the formless, first the formless realm concentrations, you give up this attachment to the form and you go to this like vacuous or vastness, right? Namkatai, like spacious.
GME, CZ top to do any career lavina. Any Nagadan does Deve Numo Yamare, Sugu Numo Yamare, any Shindafajin, sungmeji daji dushi dan chowa dan dozo pe kawarda dushi chowa dan pe yomar sizine kapsarwa.
Okay, so then you go up to the second one, like the concentration stage, then the the immovable one, and then the peak of samsara. And then when you reach this peak of samsara, then at this point, there's no discrimination or feelings, right? At this point, at this peak of samsara, then they cease to arise, right?
제가 디 내가블라다 디 내가블라 카레르라르스나 심당 심중당 아니 지 두시다 틴데베 더 트레이딩 요게 아니 꼭바셔야 돼 꼭바 그봐 디다 먼저
From the dissension comes.
심중데 디나라도 잡로데 말로데 저 얘도 시베 점올레 켄데 시베 시완네베 두시응은데 되면 일라지베 심당 심레 중외 최대만 인바당 템바데달레 양 카지 꼭바워 슬랍다데 다 꼭바셔야 돼 먼저 꼭바스다 디 두마체 둠바들 제바들 이제 잡로다 지야메메제 제제기 되자단 테 시베즈몰레 켄드지베 시완네베 두싱은데 다 일라체베스 심당 심레 총와서 이소.
So yeah, I'll just read this. So on page 161 is the last part of that verse, where it talks about what is immutable. It is a cessation of happiness and suffering that is free from attachment to the heaven called executive virtue, but not free from the attachment to the higher heaven. What is the cessation of discernment and feelings? It is cessation of unstable and even stable minds and mental factors owing to attention and preceded by the discernment of the state of peace that is free from attachment to the base of nothingness and progress beyond the summit of existence. So then it goes on. This is when you reach that point that you go beyond, this nothingness and progress beyond to the summit of existence. That's what they say is Gokpa. It's cessation, but this is different from Gokdenmara. Yeah. So this is cessation, but it's not the truth of cessation. So it's different.
Yeah.
There's the immovable one, the form realm, and the cessation of discernment and feeling, the formless realm.
So it's the immovable, the form realm, and the cessation of discernment and feelings, the formless realm. Concentrations, right? So the miyua the zokamgi tengnajun.
Someday sure.
Yeah, it's the fourth of those four. Yeah, it's the fourth one. And then in the dochak tang so mepa the zogmi kamgi tengnajun.
띵인진 라지로 꼭바 생명가 시제 내가로 연구했다디 시제.
So yeah, this comes. It's hard. It doesn't like just hating the word concentration, but it comes when you at that peak of existence, right? Of the four in the formless realm, the top one. That's when it's cessation.
심 타무시고 여러. 다 먼저 시지 코웨기 심 타슈데르다. 코웨기 심 타슈데르다.
So it's the most subtle mind at this point. Like this very
제가 대내가라 아니 초와도 뒤시다 셈바도 참마파 각바지어라 딜 꼭바스고 그러다.
So it's this discrimination on things when this is ceased, then that's what's meant by cessation.
지단 딜라 냠바샤네 베 니마 로 다와 로 동라 고란데 되기요 고벌 냠바샤나. 베 티브로다고 베 낙다 낙팀네 카도 요 말다 간다. 딜 직 대셔도 곰잠 직 단다 페젠당어서 탤런트도 와단다 곰단도 로 쉽지 샹아로 곰잠니스도 이제 고벌 냠바샤고 그러다.
So yeah, I mean, at this point, you can stay in this state of meditation for like 1,000 years, right? Because like, there's nothing coming and nothing arising. So they say, some meditators in Thailand who meditate, like just sit for like 45 years or something like that, right? They have attained this state. Question? So the samadhi, yeah. So, in a sense, that what we talk about samadhi is English is calm abiding, Tibetan is shino. So this actually comes before, right? So I'll just briefly.
당보.
Yeah, so tambo di
신에도.
di zogkam and then zogmikam.
리도.
So first you reach what's called karma biding, and then if you form realm concentrations, and then if you keep going, you go through the 4 stages of what's called the formless realm concentration. So that after you develop samadhi, you keep developing your concentration.
간데. 알레오레 after.
Yeah, di shine jela di tambo ni busumba shiba yongire.
용거.
Yeah. So like that.
대대로 제가 꼭 봤어야 돼. 먼저 퇴진이나 고발을 냠바 샤주고요. 자나 아니 퇴진 현대적으로 밀리 현대적으로 제가 현대적으로 인자 고발을 냠바 샤나다 대대검자 제대대나 가르펜다 연구해서 왔다.
So it's the Mahayana, there's not this idea of abiding in this cessation. And the reason being is because the focus is to benefit others. And if you just abide in the cessation, then there's no chance you can benefit others. So for this.
됐다. 다디 두마치 디샤송아 게 두마치 게데 대대적인 시단데로.
Okay.
다디네 지디마 전화도 다 디셰 디나라 당에면제 다 디나라 도셔. 다 망보람나 그거 투로 다 대표진 뒤로라 되는데 뒤과시라.
So I think we've explained these 8. So we'll stop here, you know. The rest you can read over yourself, but if we explain too much, it might be like getting a bit complicated.
What question?
Yeah. The non-analytical cessation, impermanent, because Geshe gave the example of a mind, if it's in the present moment, you know, that's a cessation of delusions, etc. But if you lose that mindfulness, then they come back again. So it's like impermanent, a temporary cessation.
Non-analytical cessation.
Oh, that's a non-analytical
So
cessation.
so this non-analytical cessation is that impermanent because, you know, you said that you get rid of the delusions, but they can come back. So the Tagmegi Gokpa, the Mitakpa Draware.
Karegaba.
So the Takchegi Gokpa, the Napatan Trukbaro, Takchegi Gokpa, Tagmegi Gokpa, Gokpa Kandila, Gokpa. Remember?
Kare.
The okay, the Tambo Nibatang Sumba, the Sumnangla, Nibatang Sumba. Takchegi Gokpa and Takmanchegi Gokpa. Takmengi Gokpa.
미게외게 봤어요. 네, 수소 당고 땅미 거고.
네, 서서 Takmengi Gokpa. Right.
땅미 거고.
Yeah. So the Takmengi Gokpa is the young man, you know, jela the young to the young man suffer young to get it. So 강인 선에 닥버려.
그 그래서나 대화도 권하셔고. 그 배나 람곰제 대비 배나 가서 나 참바 공부이나로 찬죽성 공부이나 아니 밀어 콘도사의 연구 말어. 콘도사 매매에 내가 다가란라 콘도단 태워져 딜러 콘도다 태워 찬죽성 공대로 찬죽성 공대도 콘도 연구 말어. 콘도 연구하기 깨요 말어. 깨마사면서 콘도 요 말어. 콘도 매버지어로 다가란래. 콘도 매버.
Okay.
콘도 매버들라.
Yeah, right. So you got to understand it from the point of view of, if we explain it, this is this non-analytical cessation, and it is permanent, and why it's permanent is, it's not, when you're meditating on the path, and say you develop loving kindness, right, and for somebody who has loving kindness, at that time, there's no chance for the anger to arise. There's no opportunity. So, but what this analytical cessation is the absence of that anger. And the control method di takparero. And the absence of that anger is permanent.
But it's temporary.
말해 디 조다야 말해 콘도 대가나고 다가나 대그래
Yeah, but it's not changing. The absence of permanent is unchanging.
먼저 줄라 콘도 매버데 요래 봐 단다라와이나 간저 콘도 요 말해 봐 나가서 콘도 매버데 유인디다 가도이나 다가나 대그래 양자 콘도 고 차도야 말고.
Right. So, you know, like for example, in our continuum now, if you say, I don't have anger right now. So the absence of that anger is not something that's momentarily changing. That's a permanent, like that's a permanent phenomenon. While the absence of anger is not a momentary changing phenomenon.
디 숙청보여나 디 숙청보여나 단대내가 컨트롤해버도 숙청보여나 선인은이래 섬날라 대와 용거고 디 누가디.
And if you have this very strongly or very stably, this absence of anger, then going forward, your mind will become more and more happy, right?
good.
You had something, Britta? Okay.
다든데 미워라야 돼 다가르다 미워라야 돼. 미워라야 돼 아니 베나 미워라야 돼. 삼디 시베기 되자단 테베 태와들 샤고. 되자단 개와다 미게와 대와다 둥에 고 태워져로. 삭제기 대와요 말에 둥에 메 태와들 샤고.
So this immutable is also said to be permanent because it's the absence of this happiness and suffering. Pleasure and pain, as it said on 162. The absence of that is unchanging, so therefore it's permanent. It doesn't mean it lasts forever necessarily, but it's
세버드 샤워. 도 세나도 맨나든데. 베나가랑서 단다이나 초와단 두시디 쇼지 개점으로 가면서 초와. 그다음에 답에 emotion 간을 칭대요. 다 초와 짠짠 죽대라.
So this feeling of discrimination is something very important for us, right? Like this is, because we're always caught up in this feeling, and we see it as very important. We're always caught up in these feelings and emotions and so forth.
그래서 네 미유에 내가라 초와당 두시 락바디게 요마르다. 손들 락바디게 요마. 네 매에 내가라 때 시워지 용거로 와 데르다.
So, but in this state of immutability or this immutable state, then the gross levels of this don't arise, right? And because of that, it becomes of this feeling and discrimination don't arise. Because of that, it becomes extremely peaceful.
ngaranzo 단다다 ngaranzo nubjola 단다 emotion la de sigdlamna digro. Emotion mena ti kibu khadre yongro ro.
It's a bit different. In the West, we sort of think, oh well, we need these emotions because if I don't have emotions, then how am I going to be happy?
Also emotional kora jabje.
So we end up just kind of cycling around our emotions.
다 de gobola de la ta 두시 천주 참모대요 말다. 어디다 천주 참모대 대와대. 락바디 매 미워 차서. 참모대 매 대베 내가라 아니 꼭 봤어야 돼. 차고다.
So yeah, I mean when you get to the very subtle level of this absence of this, that's what's said to be this cessation. Not the truth of cessation, but cessation.
어디디 고보라야 되는데 디라 아니 타바 트위드 요 망고요. 다가 타바 타브스니 망고요. 봐. 타바도 열었다고.
Yeah, so that at this point when you reach this, many people think of this as having attained liberation. Because it is like, it seems like it's liberation.
나 주어 면한테 샤오.
Okay, no more questions. We'll start with homework or something. We don't have discussion for this one.
You don't have discussion?
No, not for Monday.
What? Huh?
Reading. Karilok. Abda Jema Kari Nanzo.
Reading.
Breathing, yes, keep breathing. Everybody, first thing, everybody keep breathing. Right? Once you've sorted that out, then, if you can do that, you'll maybe make it back next week.
that's homo tande di yago loshida loya di kaduk de yago lo.
Yeah, so basically the homework is just to read this and try and become clear on it, right? Yeah, it's hard to get everything across and absorb all this information in an hour and a half. There's quite a lot there. So if you can read it, then be good.
Oh yeah, that is so.
Okay, we'll stop here.
Joje me no dan re ra lin shi nin de jen ba de san je shin de mi de do ge nan da jen la je ba ra shu o de ra den shin nan ga den le chu ju ji ba dang lo san den le gong ye jo ji
Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kam Niryatayami. Page 33.
Kyo di
Due to
nyunzen
the
la
merit
lama
of
san
these
chen pi
virtuous
je to chi
actions,
je
may
ma
I
le ha
quickly
di je
attain
la
the
bo.
state of a Guru Buddha,
Sunan di dan
and
je
lead
je
all
ma
living
yin gu
beings
ma
without
yin yin din da
exception
dan
into
je
that
kana pa da
enlightened
je la
state.
da de
May the
si su ren
supreme
do
jewel
do wa sho
bodhicitta
shi
that
ji
has
si
not
je ren bo
arisen
shi ba de
arise
ba.
and grow, and may that
Gu
which
ne
has
gu ne me
arisen not
wa jo da
diminish,
da
but
ji je
increase
san
more and
dan
more.
de be zun je la
Whatever
de
slight
ja wa shu
positive
je to
potential
ye
I
te
may
ma
have
yin ne zo
created,
ge je la
by
da shi
paying
ye te
homage,
san da de.
offering, and acknowledging
Sun
my
je la de
faults,
be ja wa la ga de
rejoicing
wa
and
yin te ma yin
requesting
ne
that the
ba
Buddhas
ji
stay
je
and
ga de
teach,
be gu
I
be sha
now
da de be
dedicate
jo
all
ma
this for
je
full
ma ji
awakening.
san de.
I dedicate all these
Shabe se
fruits
de
of
wa de
virtue
de
with the
ye je
dedication
shu je wa
praised as
zun
the
le ye
best,
ji de na ru
by
pe
the
wa da ge
victorious
je sa
ones
ma shi
thus
wa
gone
da
of the
de je
three
ma de sa
times,
wa shu.
so that I might perform the noble Bodhisattva's deeds. May the King of Dharma, Tsongkhapa's way of Dharma
De wa
practice
da je
flourish.
ja wa da
May
ji
the
de
omens
ren
of
gu ye sa wa
obstacles
ye
be
ge wa ji san da
pacified,
ji ji
and
de
all the
wa tam je
conducive
zo ge shen je
circumstances
chen
be complete. The wish-granting, wish-fulfilling jewel, source of every single benefit and happiness in this world, to the incomparably kind Tenzin Gyatso I beseech, may all your holy wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. Savior of the snowland teachings and transmigratory beings, who makes extremely clear the path that is unification of emptiness and compassion, to the lotus holder Tenzin Gyatso I beseech, may all your holy wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. You who uphold the subduous moral way, who serve as the bountiful bearer of all, sustaining, preserving, and spreading Manjunath's victorious doctrine, who masterfully accomplish magnificent prayers honoring the three jewels, Saviour of myself and others, your disciples, please, please live long. By relying on the two accumulations of myself and others in